You can't do that here today, but you could at a commission meeting.
Wow, right, today is one of the same.
I mean, this is just something to talk about.
Right. Hey, oh,
And it's the same premises there as you had when you're a school board. If it's a legal issue, a personnel issue, or your budgeting and things.
and I'll just give an example. I'll give you as an example. We're kind of like, it's just started. In that, Dan, in my opinion, should go off the salary schedule now because he's really doing the work. Two. And so we should discuss that. Well, we need Neil there for that. You know what I mean? I'm tired of Neil.
Oh, I am too, after reading the paper this last week, I'm tired of him.
He's beat that one story to death, hasn't he?
Yeah, hopefully we're done.
Well, everybody said, read that paper when I got a couple phone calls, read the paper. I read it when I got home and I said, that's just ridiculous.
You know, it's totally redundant of what it was.
What really went on? I mean, there was a few things said, but whatever.
And I think sometimes, like, Jeff said something wrong. That softball picture was just huge. I said, because I told her, I said, you gotta fill the paper. You can't have blank spots. And I think Neil's trying to do Neil's trying to do that. Because he makes these articles real wordy or repeats himself and goes, nah. But, you know, it's a little local paper and you gotta fill it with something. Anyway.
All right, let's go here. We're going to start off. We're going to kind of bounce around a little bit. You got a reference sheet. We've got the salary schedule there.
This is the salaries, yeah.
And it says 2027 at the top, but nothing has been injected into it, so that would literally be what our current salary schedule is. I haven't put a percent or 2% or whatever.
You didn't change.
No, nothing has changed in there. So, first thing is, I'm just going to flat out ask you, do either of you have any connections on the McHenery County Commissioners?
Doc's connection.
Doc has one?
Yeah, it's his brother-in-law, right? Bruner?
I think so.
Okay, so, and the reason I say that is the first one.
Okay, that's valid.
Yeah.
I was thinking Sheridan.
I'm on the front of the sheet here.
And there's no
Okay.
middle in it, but I got one. Never
Okay.
mind.
So
Not
I reached out to McHenery County, give or take 6-8 months ago, and just said, you know, we have a state's attorney that serves both of us. We pay him, they pay him. Both of us pay PERS on that because you're required by
Right.
to do so. However, he's got his health insurance here, he's got his dental insurance here, etc. And I asked them, you know, don't you think it would be fair if we shared in the cost of that? You know,
With McHenery.
yes, basically 50-50. And they didn't respond, so I reached back out to them. To Darlene Carpenter, the auditor, and she presented it to them, and they said, no, we don't want to share.
Well, we don't need to share our state's attorney.
And
Same difference.
And the fact of the matter is they think they're paying too much for their state's attorney. And no different than us. He's one of our guys that's off our salary schedule. But that being said, I would like to present a letter to them. I'll wait until after, we meet in our special meeting a week from today to get everybody's consensus. But I'm hoping somebody has a connection there. Because come on, they really should be sharing.
Yeah. Well, and that's what he gets, 30,000 from McHenery?
No, that's from us.
That's
our benefit.
Well, that's the benefit package.
That's
You don't know what they pay.
They pay them the same as we pay. The money's even,
Oh, it is.
and but we pay
All
the health
that.
insurance and dental
Well,
insurance.
then the next question would be,
Okay,
what's his workload? Is it 50-50? By gosh, then we better press him for half the
And-
benefits. If it's
and-
70-30 us,
But my guess is it's just based on their proximity to mine. He's probably got more work in McHenery County than he does here. But this month it could be 60-40, next month it could be 70.
Well, you're right.
When this started, McHenery come to us, right?
Well, he came to us.
Or they came to us, and McHenery came to him.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, therefore, they should probably pay. Just like you want to write your letter. I would do that.
Yeah, we could present that.
At our next meeting,
And, yeah.
the 25th budget.
But it would be nice if there was a personal connection. I wouldn't know a McHenry County Commissioner if he came walking through
Well, that's
the door
brilliant.
right now, so.
Who are the other two?
Is there 3?
There's only 3.
The,
I talked to John O'Meara once in a while, and he complains a little bit, but I don't know who he complains about.
I think the other 2 are way up there
you
someplace. I would know.
you could assume one's from Belleville, one's from the Towner area, one's probably from the Drake.
Well, Willard from Drake.
So.
Right. I don't, well, whatever. We
That's
can move
brother,
on.
isn't that Doc's brother-in-law?
I
Anyway, doesn't matter. That's the thing.
Right.
It's an important element of this.
Yes.
Because it is.
That's
It's
15 grand. 30
Yeah.
15 grand.
that'll jump up obviously by at least a couple of $1,000. So it'll be $33,000 in 2027. So
Oh, really?
this is current, 2026.
Yeah.
So secondly, just listing a handful of things here, the savings in 2026 for not replacing the deputy auditor, that's salary and benefits, just over $66,000. The savings also for not replacing the festival hall coordinator, those jobs have both been absorbed into this
I
office.
didn't think that was that much. 7,500.
Yeah, we're paying $6,000 in benefits. So 74.1 is the savings for this particular year, and then if you go into 2027, and this is, one of these is yes, and the other one is hypothetical. So it would be $99,487.55 plus, because the plus is you don't know what else is happening in the salary schedule.
Right.
So you got about $100,000 of savings in this office. You have roughly the exact same in the office next door, unless you choose to put another entire FTE back into that. And then you have that same 74.84.
Our plan is not to have it in. Right?
Well, not formally. We've never formally decided that.
Right, yeah, but that is,
The consensus.
Or is it going to be part-time and shared with something else?
right.
Yeah, you know, she takes 2 weeks vacation. There's got to be
Somebody around that knows something.
a second go-to person. Right. That's just an example.
Right.
Okay. Go ahead.
So you got, give or take, you got 206,000 plus in combined savings potentially in 2027. 108,000 of that is going to happen. The other part is how do you staff that particular office.
Right.
So if you combine those two things, obviously you've got $280,000 in savings between now and December 31st of 2027. So that is basically the money you're working with.
And that's not including the potential from Oliver.
Correct.
Okay.
That doesn't have anything to do with that.
Okay.
All right, so then we get into the second part, below the line. These are just some things that you need to know. First of all, you got 20,717. Those are the automatic steps. So, Stan, I know you were a school teacher at one time, and so on, you understand what one of these things look like. But everybody that's on the salary schedule is going to get to move to the right.
Take one step. Right.
Step.
That's what that thing was you sent us
Correct. And,
on that email.
well, they're wanting to, what's going to happen beyond the 20th
Right.
year, which is
But it's all moving up a step plus what we add to it.
So 20,717 is your cost for the people who can move over on the schedule. There are only 4 employees in our group here that aren't on that schedule. Janelle Beckler, Tammy Rourke, myself, and Oliver Bromke. Okay? Oliver's not on there. He's never been on the salary schedule. Those two are off because they've been here more than 20 years. And I'm off because I started at step 16 and now I've been here long enough that now I'm off the schedule. You will have other employees that move off the schedule, but I think the next one up is about 3 years away at least. That's when you're going to start to see like a Jan Mogren, Brent Keller, Katie Hines, you know,
How many years?
Carla Johnson.
Did we start Carissa Backer at 16?
No, she
No,
is.
no, she's
Not
right
that
away at that.
She's in the middle of the schedule.
Okay, that's fine.
So just 27-17, you don't do anything. That's what it costs to move the people who are going to
Yeah.
move. Okay?
That's like experience.
Yep.
If you want to call it that.
All right, and then it'll cost, I mentioned this at our last meeting, $4,715.62 is the cost of a 1% increase in our ND-FIT health insurance. I meet with Brown & Brown this afternoon at 1:30, but I'm pretty confident 776 is going to be our increase, 7.76%, so that is going to cost $36,593 for where we are currently at. Now, if somebody came in, for example, that's on a single policy, they want to add their spouse, obviously I'm not accounting for that.
Well, right,
This
you
is
don't know
the way it
that.
is right now. And that could work the other way too, where somebody's spouse comes off.
Right.
Or somebody has a baby and they move from single to SPD or something like that.
Somebody gets, you know, older, somebody goes on Social Security, Medicare, a spouse.
Right. So I believe that'll cost $36,593. I'll finalize that here this afternoon. And then usually dental, they're not the same company, but usually those other insurances kind of track similarly. So a 7.76% increase in companion would cost the county about only $1,112. I mean, that's really small in the grand scheme of things. So the 58,422 is that 20,717. It is the 36,593. All of those things, the dental, all those together. So without doing anything, it's going to cost you $58,422.
Yeah.
Okay. You've given no percentage. You've not changed your salary schedule one iota. That's what it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you $58,422. Okay. All right. So then, if we inject dollars into the salary schedule, that would be the COLA part, the cost of living allowance, if you will. 1% based on the employee group we have right now, that is going to cost you $36,206. If you go 2%, 72, you can just extrapolate this up.
Right.
72,411 for 2%, and 108,617 for 3%. So that's essentially what we're talking about. You hopefully are going to get a guide walking out of here today, etc., so that we can plan for that come our meeting next week. Okay? The other thing is, this salary schedule used to be half of its size. Okay? There are 2 extra lines in every category there. With a single policy, with a single plus dependent policy. Okay? Won't surprise anybody to know that Oliver Bromke is the highest paid, highest compensated employee we have. He should be. Okay? All right? But I think most people would be shocked to know who are in the top 5. And it isn't because
Of salary.
we shouldn't be insanely jealous of anybody and what they earn. It's because of benefits.
Oh, yeah.
In particular, it's health insurance. So anybody that's got a family policy is going to be much higher. Okay. In fact, I would be 3, 4, and 5 are probably all work department people. Okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Oh,
Just happens to be the 3 that have family health insurance policies. And if you go around our employee group and look at those that have family health, yeah, they're going to be higher compensated employees.
Right.
Well, that's okay.
Just the way it
So we committed a couple years ago to, that's how we end up with those 2 additional lines. And to date, we have $3,200 to single health insurance recipients and $1,600 to SPD recipients. What does that mean in the grand scheme of things? We have taken single policy owners and got them 19% closer to those who are compensated with a family health insurance policy. SPDs actually are a little bit closer than that. They're about 21.5%. Okay, so we narrowed that down. If we put money into the salary schedule and do not address that, and you get a 7.76% increase, what you closed just starts to reopen. It doesn't go back to
Way far, but
it gets wider.
It goes in the wrong direction.
yeah, it doesn't get cold, it goes back this way, not this way.
So what it would take just to keep it where it's at right now is it would take $250 into those with single. It would take $125 into those with SP.
You got that written here somewhere?
No.
So 250,
250 and 125 just to keep it where
Single
it
and a family.
is.
125,
Is with
single with
SP.
dependent.
Single with the tenant.
Single with dependent.
So that would keep those margins, the 21.5% and the 18.7% consistent. So.
But we could go a little greater than that.
And you could, okay? But
And narrow that gap up some more.
Right, so
What percentage, I've asked this 100 times. How many a family, how many about? Most have family?
No, most are citizens.
Oh, really?
So,
that's what I thought too.
there are probably,
No, just
there are probably 7 or 8 employees only that have family policies. As I bounce around the courthouse, I can think of 1, 2. I think there's only 2 in this building. The rest probably on the road department. So it's probably 6 or 7. So it's not as many as you think. Now that can change because we've got some young employees. So if they get married or whatever, obviously that'll change. But right now, and the state's attorney. So yeah, I want 7 is a very reasonable.
Okay.
And there's only
So the health department, like Jordan got there.
she's not with us.
She's not.
She's health district.
Health district pays herself.
Okay, it's different. Okay.
And then there's probably 3 or 4 that have a single plus a family, and everybody else is single.
Okay.
So predominantly single. So
And then how many don't have any?
just one.
Oh, just one.
Just one. It was 3 a year ago, but now it's 1.
Okay.
So $6,600 basically allows you to maintain that gap. So,
Oh, okay.
all right, and then the last thing that's under that last string of lines goes along, and I put in your little stack of papers here, it's the next thing in here. This proposal for those who are over 20 years. Now, this could be literally for those over 20 years. Now we're talking 2 people. Or we're talking anybody who's off the salary schedule, which would be 4 people. Well, again, we're a few years away. I think the next person is 17 years. So, but we've got a slug of people that are in that 17, 16, 15. So 3, 4, 5 years, you're gonna have a number of people that get to the far right side of your salary schedule, assuming all things stay the same. So this was submitted, and I visited with these gals, it would have been last Thursday sometime, trying to understand what they're trying to do here. And like most things, when I ask philosophical questions, I don't get answers back.
No.
But, well, they're trying to get more pay. But how do you go about it doesn't matter. So, obviously, if you're going to qualify for something like this, it means you've been with an organization for quite a while. You've got a lot of experience. So, I would like to think that anything we do here would be beneficial not only in a handout of money, but in their retirement someday. Yeah, they should be mindful of those types of things. So, when you looked at this, I'm not sure what you saw, but I put something on my lister that this time of the year is extremely busy for auditors, so I probably got 10, 12 responses of each of other counties. But I would argue, based on the feedback that I got, that we're about as progressive of a county as there is when it comes to our salary schedule.
So not many other counties.
No, we can
Do anything about this,
So, and
is what you're saying?
they do things about it, but for example, in the salary schedule, and I'm just gonna, okay, it doesn't matter if you're in your first year or your 19th year, your move to the right's the same here. In a lot of counties,
That's greater.
it might be the same from here, and then what was 100% goes to 75%, goes to 50%, goes to 25% at the end. In other words, they're not rewarding longevity. They think your greatest learning takes place early in your career, and it should.
It really does, doesn't it?
And it carries with you.
Well, but you're getting that paid that extra over.
Right, so from here to here.
So, you're not going to reinvent the wheel, but one of your options would be that could go to infinity to the right. If you're here 21 years or 41 years or whatever the case may be, you keep getting those steps. So you could do that. You could double the amount of pages you have there and make it a 40-lane deal. Nobody else does that.
No.
Okay?
No other.
I sarcastically say from year 39 to year 40, you should maybe get less paid because you're old, slow, and not been kept up with things.
So,
I wondered about that. I never read this thing until this morning. About 5:30, I woke up and I thought, I gotta read this.
so
I
it
used
is.
to put it in there, but I didn't read it till this morning.
I'm not going to disagree that they have that. They absolutely have value, and you would like to keep them around. But what's the right thing to do? Okay? So even what they said here to do an annual payment, I'm not on board with that because it would be PERS exempt. And
Yeah.
that may help you today, it does not help you tomorrow and in the future tomorrows. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. So,
Hey, our meeting on the 25th, would you check with some other counties too, and then maybe we could decide a little bit more on it?
Well, you already did.
But I mean, then we would have a little more to go on.
other ones do like one of the counties out west of Dickinson. It isn't Stark County, but it's out in that area. And I asked them, what do you guys do? I said, we don't have a salary schedule. I said, well, what do you do with the salary schedule? He said, the commissioners come in and they give an amount that just applies to everybody. So if you're your first year or your 29th year, you might get $400.
So you mean that's all whole of that?
Everything's.
And it goes with their wages.
So there's no extra money for experience? Oh boy. Well, that's extreme. We're not gonna do that.
No,
Here's the thing that these people don't understand. That if they're frozen at 20,
Every year.
over here,
Yeah, I'm following.
every single year, they're getting paid for experience versus the first person.
Because their wages go up 3 to 5%.
Well,
but
it's immaterial.
Yeah, everybody.
Everybody will. But over here, they're getting paid. It's almost like they're saying at year 21, I'm not getting paid for experience anymore. Yeah, you are. You're in 20 versus, and 20 is better than 19 through 1. Follow me?
Yeah.
So it isn't that we don't appreciate them. It's, they want to be appreciated more. And I don't know if I'm in the agreement that you become a better employee from year 20 to year 21. Now we're starting to split hairs. And that's one of the reasons why certain counties, if you get X amount of experience first 10 years, you get less here and less here and less here. You know,
Right.
I suppose I could get my arm twisted to raise that 20 to 21 or 22 steps, but
So, and again, we're just trying to be totally aware of everything. So let's talk about this before we even start, going back to what we talked about. Just the steps and the extra buck for 3 road department guys who have milestone years this year. That would be Gary Call, Frank Ball, and Tristan.
they're going from
They're
5 to 10 or
5-year 15s, yeah. They're gonna get a buck off the top along with the people who take a step. So, what does that amount to? Okay, now if you're a higher paid employee, it's gonna be a smaller percent. If you're a lower paid employee, it's gonna be a higher percent, okay? So on the road department, Frank's gonna get 3.56 without doing anything. Gary, 3.58%. Tristan, who's the lowest paid of those three, 3.9%. So Tristan's gonna get almost a 4% increase just because of that dollar increase. In the courthouse, the people who are salaried employees, those ranges from Brent Keller would be on the low end. He's at about 0.9%. So he gets an increase of just about 1% for moving over here, right? And 1.63 is the highest. That would be across the street, the administrative assistant. 1.63% increase just for moving. So you haven't injected anything in there, okay? Everybody's getting something, except Oliver Bromke, Janelle Bepley, Tammy York, and myself, because we don't have any place to go. Our only increase can be the injection into coal elements. Okay? So that said, everybody's getting an increase, and it's all over the place. Lowest is 0.9, and the highest is obviously 3.9. Those three road department guys.
and that's kind of an outlier.
Yep.
It's 0.9 to 1.5 for everybody else, probably. Right?
Correct. So, that being said, when you talk about stuff like this, we could do something, and what I've written down here, it's not really a proposal, it's just to get you thinking about it. So if you go down right here where the 4 stars are, $3,459 to implement a longevity salary credit. So the 425 would be the annual increase for somebody that's between 21 and 25 years. Okay? 325 is if you're between 26 and 30. 225 between 31 and 35, and 175 if you're 35 or 36 years and beyond. Okay, it's not smaller, it's something, but it's smaller.
The more years, the smaller.
Yes.
You need a longer sheet of paper then.
And we would put this on a piece of paper as opposed to adding lanes to it, but so it's something like that. Okay, I expect this to be maybe a hot topic when we meet on Thursday for our department's meeting. It probably was a hot topic here last Thursday afternoon. I wasn't here at the time. Some of you probably heard about this, but
I call it.
that being
Boone
said,
filled me in.
some folks left here, I think with tears in their eyes, but this is nothing new to me because obviously I worked in schools for a long time. Everybody always felt they were slighted because of their son. So anyway, that being said, you have an opportunity to address it. It doesn't cost you a truckload of money.
No, it isn't like we got 20 employees like that. There's 4.
Right.
You know, there's one side of me that says, don't do anything, but the other side is, you know, it's not costing.
Well,
In the overall scheme of the budget,
I've seen something where they have a lot more money involved than what we got here.
Okay, so taking a look at this, and it's item number 3, I think it's the second sheet or whatever,
Yeah.
that deal. So they put this in here, so it deserves discussion. Why 21 to 24? I don't understand their ranges because some ranges have 5 years, some have 4. But you see where it says annual stipend of $1,000, annual stipend of $2,000, annual stipend of $3,000. Okay, that would be the polar opposite of what your salary schedule is. The jump is excessively larger than a
The older
stipend.
you get.
So this is not workable. This is foolish.
No, that's what,
Okay.
I didn't read that either. I just
I read that this
I-
morning earlier and something didn't look right to me. And that's exactly what we're talking
It
about.
could be 1,500 and 250 instead of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000.
Yeah, just like it is on the,
Wow.
Anything
Whatever.
anything here that's bigger than in your salary schedule is really counterproductive. Okay, nobody is doing this. No one.
No.
Okay, if these dollar figures were smaller than what was in your salary schedule, now it's starting to, okay, that makes sense. We could do something like that.
Like a compliment.
Bigger? That does, okay, if it's gonna be bigger, yeah, that, all you have here is a geriatric ward. You know,
right, and that's why I just,
Well, it's
That's
not, you almost have to go back to those employees. How can they justify at year 31, do you really think you're worth $3,000 a year more than you were last year?
that one would be hard to, and I pointed out
already got
because
yes all of that.
when I'm reading through this, I'm really trying to figure out, well, what are you trying to advocate for here? Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of things in here that, okay, I agree that you bring value to the organization, you absolutely do.
No question.
But what's the right way to go about this? That's where we may be different. So, but anyway, I expect this to be more conversation on Thursday. But maybe the simple way to phrase this is, are you open to considering something that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg, it doesn't tie you forever? I don't think this belongs in your salary schedule. Okay, can we do something for them? Yes. Now, the good news is,
You don't think it should be in the salary schedule? So you're not in agreement with adding a couple steps here?
I don't see what people. All right,
Then how would you pay? Or how would you?
you can make a decision, almost like I suggested here. You could put in a clause in there that says, if you're in steps 21 to 25, we will give you an additional $500 a year, or
Just check at the end of the year, type of thing.
well, it can be your salary.
Well, but then you gotta add first and all that.
Correct. But incrementally, it's gotta be lower than your steps. If it's gonna be equal to your steps, now you're adding.
No, you could add them steps and just make the increment smaller.
Correct. And you can add them onto the page, they just don't fit. Which is
Wow.
why it's not necessary. Now,
No.
when you look at myself and Oliver Bromke, neither one of us has been here 20 years. We're just off the salary schedule.
Correct.
So you wouldn't need to include persons like us. You know, Kami Heinz is going to be, she may not be the next person to hit there, but she ain't been here that long either. The next legitimate people to hit are going to be Brent Keller and Jan.
I was gonna say, Jan's gotta be getting up there.
She's 17-ish.
That's her, how years of college, she's been here ever since, right?
I'm gonna say 2009, so it's about like 17. So she and Brent Keller will be the next ones to hit. Now Brent has probably been with the county more than 20 years, but he switched roles while he was here, so he started over in terms of steps. He went from hourly to on the salary schedule, which is why he hasn't reached 20 yet. So there's all these different things that you have to take into consideration, but my thinking is, okay, we can be open to something, but the steps across. I gotta double check. It's 600.
And I just looked. It's
600, a little less than 650.
650.
So it can't be. It's got to be smaller than that.
Okay.
Okay. And I mean, so what I put in here on the sheet was 425, 325, 75. Yeah. How many people are going to be here beyond 35 years? That's going to be rare. And Janelle is really, really close to that. So kudos to her for being here and staying that long. But the likelihood of our younger generation staying in any line of work that long is remote at best. So, what are your thoughts, CD? Is there some sliding scale that you could agree to, or?
And that wasn't the details. I guess I'd agree to something, but it would be obviously less than those steps, less than 650, and I wouldn't go out to 4 years.
And how about, and I do think this is kind of the right way to go about it, but how about who would you consider? Would you consider just those who've been here more than 20 years or people who are off the salary schedule? Because that has to be clarified.
I'd be more in the camp of adding 5 steps to this with lower steps and include everybody.
Okay. Because it really isn't longevity based. If a person like me who's in there going into their 6th year, because it's not really longevity, you're just off the salary schedule.
But it's longevity in
or in
doing that type of job. I don't believe that we should reward someone for working for Wells County.
Because like Oliver Bromke, he's
Yeah.
3.5 years or whatever, and he'll have been around. It's just he's been off the salary schedule from the first day.
And that's not to say that you don't appreciate those people.
No.
But they're already getting way more than.
So it is a challenging argument, and depending upon your personal circumstances, you can twist this any way.
That's right, you could.
And, so anyway, I just assume.
Well, and hopefully our justification for modifying this in an extreme way is, something that this isn't used in one single county in the state. I'm always in the camp that we need to stay consistent with other counties our size. It's just isn't in the cards.
So I think our salary schedule is progressive. It's more progressive than most. The fact that it has 20 years in it, that has the same things in step 20 as you have in step 1, 2, 3. I think that makes ours pretty progressive. I think the fact that we have injected the single and single plus dependent, I guess if you have a family health insurance policy, you probably don't think it's progressive. I think it is. So I think there's a lot to be said for our salary schedule and how we run it. But this is obviously something that we could perhaps improve a little bit. So.
Yeah. Wow. That's a deal where the other 3 you'll have to have input there.
Sorry about that. Step there. Good. All right, this next part, I'm not going to try and explain this because it would take me all day, probably most of tomorrow too. But I put these 2 items in here to give you just an idea. When we talk about a 3% cap.
Yeah, and I talked to Boone yesterday. I want this explained to me. I just can't wrap my head around it. I can't get it.
It all comes down to, you started with a baseline year of, in 2023, then 24,
Right.
then you had your 25s, okay? What they're looking for, you couldn't just use the first year, which was 2025, okay? You had to have some other history involved in here, because you could have been a county that
Bought 3 blades.
you reduce something,
Yeah.
and then you get penalized for it. We did get penalized because we weren't at the max in all of our levies, so you can only have 3% of wherever you were. So if you'd have been at 60,000,
We should have spent more of that first year.
So,
Had we known.
right, with this now, we've got those extra mills, which that was in our question too, about our extra mills. Now, they're gonna get paid on the 3% with the extra mills now, where we didn't before, right?
well,
Or how does that work?
you're gonna get those extra mills, and they're not part of the 3% because the public voted on it. So that supersedes the 3%. But what I'm gonna show you in this is, I think, as good as we could do going to our constituencies when it's budget time here, okay? They voted for the 11 mills, right? You know they did.
I'm assuming, yeah.
All right, so they're not gonna like their tax bill because those 11 mills are tacked on there, right? But it's my hope not to take any more anywhere else than we did a year ago. In other words, leave our 3% on the table this year, okay? All right, so if you look at this spreadsheet, and I'm just gonna take you through just a few things, you will see right in the middle of that first page, you see 4,391,356 highlighted there on line 15. I'll reference the line so you know exactly where I'm at. That is what we're basing our 3% on.
4,391.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. You go down, you look at our taxable valuation on line 17. This is last year's taxable valuation. It was 48,514. You know we had a decline in valuation. Okay? You will see that decline. Oh, where you got it? Gotta be in here someplace.
I don't see it.
It's part of the calculations. Anyway. Okay. So based on that and the 90.52 mils on line 18, that was last year's ask. You take out two things, and they are listed on lines 9 and 10. County emergency, which we levied $4,722 for last year, and the water resource district, we levied $122,500. Those things are not part of the 3%. So if you take that and you subtract those things out and you flip over the page, you can add 3%, which for us would be $131,741 on line 30, okay? Which would get you up to your maximum allowable cap rate of $4,523,097, okay? So that's what you can do. Now, if you go down to line 37, all right, this is the 11 mills for the road.
That's the new tax money.
Based on our taxable valuation, that will generate $519,491. So you can see that's an 11.49% increase. You can say, hey, that's way over 3%. That doesn't count against the 3% because the voters voted for that. Okay. So on lines 43 and 44, we did adjust up the county emergency levy to $5,000, and the water board was looking for $137,000. So those things don't count against. So if you look down at the bottom of the page, I put in there that what we were going to ask for, which is $146,519 less. Technically, that's 3.34% less than what you could do, which is 3%, but I said we're going to do 0. So if you turn to the last page, it'll say the excess percentage to carry forward is 3%. Why would you do that, Dan? Because there's going to be a little bit of a shock. collecting that extra $500,000 this year, even though the public voted for it. So it's my hope that everything else can be at the level that it was at last year. Okay, even though they're gonna get a tax increase because of the road department. So we know that the water board wants more, health district wants quite a bit more, okay? So all of those things put together, we have to take out of someplace else. It can't be the road department, it can't be from the special funds themselves, okay? It's just not, it's gonna come out of the general fund. So in other words, our general fund ask is gonna be less than it was last year. What gives us the ability to afford to do that? That empty office, hopefully that empty space over there, and hopefully the fact that the road department is gonna become less reliant on the general fund to conduct its business.
Well, I was gonna say, the other one would be the 519,000.
That's gonna go to the road department and they don't have to dip it out of the general.
Well, money's money, right?
I know, but
Correct, right?
that's just how you have to look at it.
So
So they're not robbing the general fund, they got their own fund. Just saying.
So I'm gonna try and tell you what this amounts to in the grand scheme of things, because this is kind of what I'm gonna be proposing next week. And I don't want everybody at the table to be looking at me like, okay. So what it would mean, excuse me, get my sheet to behave here.
Well, the biggest advantage is that next year, we've got 6% to work with. Right?
Yes, you can, and you
All that, you don't, the 3%.
Where he put this on this sheet to zero.
Correct.
There's that
You
extra,
can carry that over.
that extra 3%.
Maybe getting ahead of what you were gonna say.
So,
I understand that now, but I mean, because he has this at zero right there.
So all told, this would take, give or take, about a little over $140,000 out of the general fund. It would add a little bit of money is being added to the county agents, a little bit of money is being added to historical, a little bit of money is being added to VSO, health district's adding about 80 grand. Water resources adding about a little over 14,000. Soil conservation's adding 2572, etc. But all of those things, with the exception of the road department's $519,000, is going to come out of the general fund. So we're going to back that down to lift those other ones up that need an increase, and it will be a wash. Okay? So the only ask of the public above and beyond last year is the additional 11 mills in the road department. I don't see how we could possibly swing that any more favorably to the public. But to do that, you can't just willy-nilly slap stuff into the salary schedule and not think that there's gonna be, you gotta pay for it, you gotta be able to pay for it.
All right.
There's some money, there's money that's not gonna come out of the general fund that will. And then the road department will get their own.
So,
But it's gotta, you're saying it's gonna equal out closer.
yeah, and that 519,000, you, me, and everybody else in Wells County can pay for that,
Right.
okay? So that
But the public.
basically is gonna be almost a 10% increase in your tax bill for the county,
Right.
okay?
Don't you think most people are expecting that?
They're expecting it, but expecting
But when it comes-
and then when you get the piece of paper,
Realization?
because, maybe you live in the Pheasant Fire District too, okay? You're getting an increase for that.
Yeah.
Maybe you're somebody who shops in Harvey, you're gonna get that increase for the swimming pool.
Right.
Okay, all of these things collectively.
Three or four things are gonna be put in there too. Yeah, I didn't kind of.
And then, you've got your township bill, which a couple of years ago, we had less than a third of our townships that were at their full levying capacity. Now it's 24 townships are,
3/4.
2/3.
Two-thirds.
Yeah, and Other ones, I believe, are gonna see the folly of their ways, and they're gonna get there too. There's two, Norway Lake and the one over by Harvey that has the elevators. They may
No, they should. You know,
not. 34
One
and
hamburger,
46.
that shouldn't.
well, you know, reality, well, we're losing state money. Well,
They got more money than they need.
That's right. That's my
I
point.
mean,
Yeah. So in turn, there's a reason
But
why the state does
if
that.
you live in Norway Lake Township, now Maddock Ambulance has started up and they went right to the max at 15. So they're paying more. All right. The Maddock School District, which also would be that part of the county, they're 10 over their max. Their people voted for it. And so, yeah. So this is as soft a blow as I think we can create for this year. Now, if you find yourself in dire straits 12 months from now, yeah, you can go to 6% because you keep the right to the 3% for this year. Now, if you don't use it within a 5-year window, you can't get it back. And maybe it's not to 6, maybe it's to 4.5, which will leave $1.5 on the table for another subsequent year.
Well,
So
right.
there's things that you can do here, but I want you to be aware that it is my intent when I present a budget to you, and we talk about this next week, this is what I'm going to suggest to you. Okay? And we can do this because of the savings that we're achieving here.
That's assuming what percent in the salary statement?
I assumed 3.
Okay. You gotta assume at least 3, right?
yeah,
I mean,
I think we talked about 3.
yeah, we talked about that already, yeah.
We did talk about that last week, about 3%.
Now, if I put 3 in here, okay? Now let's go back and we haven't done anything else.
No.
We've got the health insurance piece in here, we've got your steps in here, and we're injecting a 3% COLA into this. Okay?
Right.
So now, we're Good morning, Wells County Auditor's Office. Yes, it is.
I just,
Yes. Yeah. I am in a meeting right now, so. Okay. See you tomorrow. Bye. Yeah, bye.
This is who it
Huh?
is. This is who it is.
yeah,
Okay, so if you inject 3%, obviously the 4 people that we spoke about, exactly 3%.
right.
Okay, all right. Everybody else ranges from the lowest one I see on here should be your highest paid people. I see a 3.7. That would be the minimum raise. That would be a high paid employee. If we go down to the road department, obviously 3% for everybody except the people that I talked about.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about 6.9%, 6.6%. Those are really good raises. Okay, so anyway, that's what that does. Now, if we go a step further and put in that 250 and 125 that we
For the
mentioned
year.
about for the health insurance component, if you're a single or SE.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
yes.
right,
I
right.
wanna
We got
do
an
that.
extra one down, I forgot.
125. Now, your lowest, you still have one that's at 3%. That's your highest paid employee. Even those other 4 are now about 3.4%. Okay, it's not
It
bad.
doesn't change the percentage.
It doesn't change them much. In your road
We
department,
could go more than that.
in your road department, you got up to 7.4%, 7.2%, just over 7%, and 656. So, all right, all of those things combined, everything that we just talked about, is going to cost $173,628. Okay,
173 what?
628.
Rounded up.
That's a big injection. And we haven't talked about these little tiddlywinks of years 21 through 20.
Yeah, that's minor stuff.
The other thing that we have not spoken about is something that you mentioned earlier. Is there compensation for this outfit becoming a one-off?
Right.
Would there be additional compensation if that becomes a one-off? There's one other person in the county, and she definitely does not want me to say her name, so I'm not going to. But there's one other person, since Renee has left this office, who's picked up what I consider to be the equivalent of an additional day's work each month. I think that person should be compensated for an additional day. And our software shapes everything out to hourly and daily, things of that nature. That would be about $200 a day, or a month, excuse me.
Right. That's a minor.
It's minor in the grand scheme of things, but I think we should, when we went through this long-term planning, the handful of my colleagues here that I'll just say that they have enough gumption to come in and say what's on their mind. Some of them have come in and said, yeah, this sounds like more work and no compensation. And I said, nobody ever said that would be the case. You should be rewarded for going above and beyond. What you shouldn't be rewarded for is pissing and moaning about every chance that suggests you might have to lift your finger.
So you're saying one out of the ones that have been talking about it come and stepped up and is doing more work?
I've got one person across the hall.
Well, I think we gotta be mindful of roles change within the county. And I'll bring it up now, Jana, and she,
But everything is getting,
she did, want to make waves and all that, but she thought she could, would you consider adding a little more? Because the whole zoning thing, it used to be one meeting every 2 years, and now she spends a lot of time on it. And in the future, if she could be, and I'm not promoting that, I'm just saying that's a change of roles. It's a change of role for Dan. It's a change of role over here.
I think she should too, but you try to make it go longer to it, the longer you get by with it without doing it, then you have to do it. You know what I mean?
Because you really, I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're
And it doesn't matter, right, correct.
a loan officer at the bank, or you're working here, or you're teaching school.
I think she should be.
If in your 8-hour day you got time to sit on Facebook, you don't have enough to do. If in your 8-hour day, you should be expected to work, take your lunch break, you gotta take your vacation days, absolutely. If you're sick and can't come to work, absolutely, you should stay home. But barring that, you should get productivity out of your office. Now, I fully expect at the September Commissioners meeting that somebody's gonna come in and suggest to you that office absolutely cannot survive with one employee. I simply do not agree with that. I do not agree. I've been here long enough. I don't know everything that Carla and Kathy do in the clerk of court's office. I do know everything that those two do across the hall in the treasurer's office. I don't know everything that goes on there. I don't know everything that goes on up there. But I see the way people come and go. I walk into their offices every single day. Okay? If I can absorb that woman, and it's challenging, but if it can be done, it ought to be examined, knowing what you two know now, knowing what the general public does not know, and never will know without coming in here.
Well, and there too, the devil's in the details in that particular office. I think everyone would agree that there's not a need for two in there. Just one might be stretching it. That's pretty drastic. That's a 50% reduction in employees. If you want
If you go from one to go from two to one.
Right. It's 50%. That's a lot. Ideally, I think it should be less. 50% is a little drastic. But that's a discussion for another day, you know.